these are the arguments that we've received from them, right? There are four main arguments for this program. And we've gotten this, either from the paperwork that's been out or the in-person conversations that we've had. And it basically boils down to this. One, they say that they're doing it anyways. These kids are engaging in sexual activities anyways. We have to keep them safe. Two, parents are either not having these conversations at home or don't want to or want the school to. And again, they're doing it anyways. Parents aren't having the conversation. So second point, in order to have this. Three is combating misinformation that's out there about sex and sexual health for these teenagers. And then the fourth one is implied that there is a greater social political pressure at play. The Mass Department of Ed up in Malden has created these frameworks. Our Governor Maura Healey is publicly supporting a bill that's in joint committee at the State House right now to mandate this sexual health education across the state. So there is a burgeoning social political pressure behind all of this as well. But just to address those four main points of their rationale right up front, or at least the first three. First of all, that they're doing it anyways argument, right? How does the school measure this? Mm-hmm. How do they know, right? Mm-hmm. I'll ask that question just frankly. How do they know? Now, every school administrator and every teacher is a mandated reporter. So if they do, they ought to be filing a report, right, about this if kids are engaging in sexual activity. The second one, parents aren't having these conversations. I'll ask a very simple question to that. Again, no one's asked us what conversations we have or haven't had with our child. I don't believe that they've surveyed our children to find out if we have or haven't had that conversation. So at best, on those first 2 points, any evidence that they have to support doing this program is anecdotal at best. So while those things sound good on their face, right? They sound like good reasons to go forward with this. When you really bear down and ask some very basic questions, you realize that there cannot be any data or evidence behind it. The third point of combating misinformation. Now, we've asked the question to 2 separate school administrators, what misinformation is it that these programs are combating? Because we didn't see anything in the videos. We didn't see anything in the slideshows that specifically said, hey, there's this misinformation out there, and we want you to be educated against it. So I would think that if that was a primary building block of the rationale for this program, it would also be evident in the program. And we did not see that. And then the fourth one, I think that's the primary motivating factor, that there is a burgeoning social political pressure behind this. And that's something that as we try to educate more parents and community members, that our goal is to fight that, which, is certainly going to be an uphill battle here in Massachusetts.
So again, we're in Plymouth, Massachusetts. This is taking place in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Your children are in Plymouth, Massachusetts. But if the state is exposing this and saying this is the curriculum that we want to teach, I can't imagine that it won't be long before other states adopt this type of mentality and this type of framework and approaching it in the same way, right? To where it's very vague, trying to make it a hidden issue. Okay, well, we sent out an email, nobody withdrew or said we don't want our kids partaking in this. So we know it's happening. We know there's a momentum behind it. But I think the big thing that bothers me is that as this starts to expand, it's something that they are trying to pull over the wool over the parents' eyes instead of having them make decisions based on their kids' best interest.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you, right, parents need to pay attention to this because it will be buried. And I'll back up and say everything they're doing when they announce these programs, and they can use whatever flowery academic language they want, okay, to justify exposing 13-year-olds to this type of information and graphic material. And it's all done under the banner of health and safety, right? So it's repeated over and over again in the documents, in the emails about this, that this is essential for their health and safety. Now, one argument that we're out there making to fellow citizens and parents is how many things have been done in the history of our great nation and in the world to say, hey, this is being done for your health and safety, right? We can look at the Patriot Act, right? We can look at, that was done for our safety and we lost fundamental rights to privacy, right? So it is, I reject the premise that just because someone in a position of authority, in this case, a school administration, says that something's being done for my child's health and safety, I reject the premise that we immediately need to accept that. And how can parents stay informed? Well, in Massachusetts, you have a right to review and inspect the materials of instruction that's primarily about sexual health. Okay, and I encourage everybody to exercise that right. Second, there are great resources out there through the Mass Family Institute to provide you an option to opt your child out. We don't think that that's enough, right? I think we need to educate our friends, family, community members about this. But that is one step you can take to at least remove your child from being exposed to this. And hey, the reason why we're so, or a reason why we're so passionate about this is, first of all, when we look at those 4 basic points, especially the first 3 of their program rationale, right? They crumble upon the first question, right? How do you know this information? How is this validated? And then the second main point is there are contradictions throughout. Okay, I'll highlight one example. The CDC tells us, okay, these are CDC statistics, that children in middle school are 2 to 3 times more likely to use illegal drugs than they are to engage in sexual activity. We don't teach kids safe ways to use drugs in our schools, right? We don't teach them safe methods to obtain needles or to only eat half of a THC gummy on your first time around. Like, that would seem crazy. So just like that would seem crazy, this seems crazy to us. And I think it would to any person of faith, but we're extending that to anybody, right? The guy down the street who might be agnostic or an atheist, it would probably still feel weird if he's not in this education world and you go, hey, would you show this video to our 13-year-old neighbor? The answer would be absolutely not. I'd be afraid I'd get arrested, right? So, we're trying to evangelize that message of common sense with regards to this.
And I think even beyond, the specific documents that the kids are given and the specific videos that they're going to be shown, it's important for parents to be aware of the sources that the school is choosing to use as well. So, for example, what was it? 7 of the 11 original videos videos that were on the original outline of this curriculum were from a site called amaze.org. This site is funded by Planned Parenthood. And at the end of every video, so including the videos that were intended to be shown in the classrooms, there is a cartoon character who comes on and says, be sure to visit me at amaze.org and watch more videos. Well, when you go to amaze.org, you are prompted to watch videos condoning and promoting porn. So kids are told that it's perfectly normal and a positive thing to watch porn. It's free. It's wonderful. There are videos that are doing the same for masturbation, explaining to kids how they can masturbate. They have a cartoon character who you watch masturbate. There's a video that has a cartoon person labeled as a virgin, and all around that person are cartoon fingers pointing at that person. And there's a laugh track going, highlighting the fact that, if you're a virgin, this is laughable. It's just extremely inappropriate. In the videos that that the district was going to show we don't know yet. We're waiting for that next version to come out. In the original version, there are quotes from it. There's an older brother who comes home from college talking to his younger brother, who says something to the younger brother says something to the effect of, "I'm excited to have sex." And the older brother says to him, "That's fine. Everyone's personal sexual choices are valid and should be respected." No, they should not. Not when you're 13 and 14 years old. It is illegal and it's not right. And our schools should not be choosing to use sources that encourage this behavior. And parents need to, unfortunately now this has slapped us in the face, right? That everybody needs to be actively looking for the sources that the schools are promoting as credible and reliable.
Now, when you went before the school committee, before I go there, it's like if your children are going on a class trip, you have to sign a form for them to go on a class trip. It boggles my mind how this is viewed differently. But when you went before the school, was the teachers or principals or that work in that school, did they have anything to say? Did they have anything to implement? Because I know the principal has children in the Plymouth School District, I believe. I can't imagine that they wouldn't have an objection if they have children as well.
So I'll address both of those points. So first of all, the forum with which that we presented to the school committee, it was in public comment at their meeting. So that's not designed to be a dialogue. It's a 3-minute, you have 3 minutes on the clock that you can speak and make a statement effectively to the school committee. They're not going to engage in a back and forth there. So we were joined by a number of folks from Mary Queen of Martyrs Parish, where we're both parishioners, along with our priests. And one of our priests, Father Joe Rake, spoke right after me against this program. And so the forum wasn't really designed for a back and forth. It was just to kind of get your own message across. To the second point, hey, I'll speak to this social political pressure, right? This on its face doesn't seem like the most popular thing because it's tied to a political ideology. It is standing up against this, and we're not trying to make a political statement here. What we're trying to speak is common sense. 13-year-olds should not be engaging in sexual activity. I think that's something that we can all agree on. And we shouldn't be implying that it's okay if they do, and that here are different ways that they can safely if they're going to do it anyways, right? And we're, again, so I think that answers the second piece, is that, hey, a lot of people don't have strong positions. Our moral fabric in our nation and our community is kind of eroded around this topic over time. So I think that we're all desensitized to this, and it's kind of like, well, they teach that now, and no big deal. We do see it as a big deal. We believe that the laws of the Commonwealth shouldn't be contradicted in the classroom, right? We shouldn't be teaching 13-year-olds how to give consent to sexual activity when the law reflects that they're not intellectually or emotionally mature enough to do so. The same way that we don't teach driver's ed to 7th graders.
Right, exactly.
Graders, right. So, we're trying to stick to that common sense message to appeal to people's common sense in a culture that we know has certainly shifted in the direction of, sexualizing children at a younger age. And we obviously, from our faith perspective, are totally opposed to that. But just as, regular people as well, I think that message will resonate with them.